Welcome. Please start.
Hi, good evening, Maven family. Welcome to the evening session. We have two amazing speakers for today's session, Nahan and Rajvin Kaur. They both are from Malaysia. Nahan is an ebook writer and author. He is an ebook coach and trainer. He's a certified trainer on persuasive communication. And amazing girl Rajvin Kaur, she's Miss Beautiful Smile, Miss Amazing Malaysia 2023 and 24 also. She's International Laughter Ambassador. She's certified laughter yoga teacher. Today they have chosen a topic, tips for successful married life. Nowadays everybody is facing multiple challenges in their married life, and let's listen from Nahan first, and then Rajvin will give her views and her tips for the successful married life. So, over to you, Nahan sir. Please take this session.
Gita, and I wish to convey my thanks to Mavin family for having invited me and Rajvin to this show. Basically, I and Rajvin, we will co-speak in all our sessions. I will do the main topic and followed by the laughter session by Rajvin. Okay. So today's topic that I have selected is on tips on successful married life. Yeah, it's quite interesting actually, because as we all know, there are many marriages across the globe. Yeah, which does not last. Initially, it is very sweet, but eventually it turns sour. Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to share with you what are the scenarios, what are the causes why marriages do not succeed. It does not. It's not sustainable for a long period of time. And I'm also going to share with you some of the tips how we can overcome these challenges in our life, so that at the end of the day we will have a happy married life for the rest of our life. Yeah. So when we talk about successful marriage, yeah, marriage is actually not just an intimate relationship. Yeah, it is not just an intimate relationship, but to have an everlasting, happy, and a lively place to live together as partners for the rest of our life. Yeah, only when we are happy, when we have a happy married life, we will be able to have a home and not a house. You know, many of us, we always think or assume a house is the same as a home. But in real fact, what is a home and what is a house? Yeah. To me, I've observed, yeah, and I can very clearly say that a home is a place where we love to come home, come back after work, wherever we are. At the end of the day, we love to come back. Why? Because that is a place we find fulfillment of our life. We find love. We find happiness. No? And there are a lot of wonders which we will be really happy forever. Whereas a house is just a place for us to stay. It is actually something like a hotel. You go to the house or you go to the hotel just for you to sleep, get up, have a breakfast, and go out. That is a house. So you cannot find happiness in a house. Whereas in a home, it is the best place in the world where every married couple or every married uh, individuals, yeah, they love the place because that is where they find everything, fulfillment of their life, contentment of their life, yeah, the purpose of their life. it will only be sought, it will only be obtained from our home. Yeah. So a home is different, a house is different. Yeah. So here we are talking about a home. How can we make the home to be a very a heaven? Yeah. That is only when we are able to have a successful married life. Having said that, we often see, yeah, we often see or we read in the papers or in social media, a lot of marriages break up. Okay, a lot and lot. In fact, it is increasing than before. Yeah, it's a very alarming state actually. If we really scrutinize it, it is becoming a alarming stage. Yeah, so there are many marriages that break up. Okay, initially everything was is very smooth, but as the married couple get along, things turn sour. There's a lot of misfortunes, a lot of happenings that really makes us unhappy and causes a lot of damage, not only to the couple, but also to the children. Because whenever there's a conflict between a husband and a wife, yeah, at the end of the day, who would be the victim? It is actually the children. I have seen there are many broken up families because the parents are not able to cope up. Yeah, they are not able to cope up with their marriage life. Thus, is affecting the children. That is why you see there are many children from broken homes. They turn out to be haywire. Yeah, a lot of misfortunes, a lot of happenings, a lot of unwanted things do happen to children who come from broken families. Yeah. Well, that is the nature. I mean, that is the reality. Whether you like it or not, that is the reality. Okay. Marriage can break up due to multiple of reasons. Yeah. Many reasons, including communication problems, infidelity, financial issues, lack of commitment, okay, domestic violence, and also the factors which include personalities, yeah, and resolve conflicts. So let's trace each of these. What are the causes? Why, in many cases, marriages break up? Okay, let me just share with you uh, what I know. Yeah, because I've seen in my own eyes a lot of things that really can be resolved, but it is existing. Yeah, it does exist. For example, infidelity. Okay, this is one of the main reason. One of the reason why marriages break up. Okay, what do we say? What do we mean by saying infidelity? Okay, it's a loss of trust in relationship. Okay, it's decreased self-esteem. It's a feeling of isolation, emotional stress. Let me explain one by one. Yeah, trust is the most important thing in communication. A relationship will only be effective and a worthwhile relationship will only have take place if there is trust. But we can see many cases there's a lot of mistrust. Yeah, the spouses doesn't have trust each other. Once you do not have trust, would we want to believe in them? Would we want to believe whatever they say? Yeah. Why? Because in the past they have seen a lot of mistrust in the behaviors, in the manner they speak. So once they become accustomed to it, then it goes into the subconscious mind of mistrusting the partner. Yeah, emotional distress. No, because as we know, nowadays both husband and wife need to work. Yeah, they cannot spend a lot of time at home. They need to go and earn so that to bring up the family. And during the course of in the nature of their duties, their job, they become very emotionally stressed. And once stress comes in, they would when they come back home, they cannot focus because of the stress which they have gone through at the workplace. You know, and stress is the beginning of destroying the future. What will happen is the minute you are stressed, you will have other concurrent happenings. That is, I always used to say this in most of my talks, the three S. Yeah, the three S, which are the culprits for our health. Yeah, the three S are stress, strike, stroke. You know, so if we have so much of stress at our workplace, or even at the family level, husband and wife relationship, a lot of stress. We cannot get along. I don't trust. You know, whatever you say, I don't trust. And whatever I say, you don't trust. There is no mutual understanding. All these things will give stress to both the parties. No, at the end of the day, just imagine what will happen. A lot of things can happen. Mentally affected, you know, children affected, health affected. So the whole family is going to suffer because of this initial cause, that is stress. Okay. Another thing, relationship dissatisfaction, sorry. Relationship dissatisfaction. Relationship is the most fundamental thing in any bondage. If your relationship is not good, how can we get along? Similarly, even at the workplace, if the bosses do not have a good relationship with the staff, how can they work together with the other staff? Yeah? So you need to build relationship. So relationship is also one of the cause that leads to a failure in married life. Okay? Another thing which I can think of is extreme sensitivity or suspicion over the other partner. Okay? Become very suspicious. Whatever he does, whatever the husband does, the wife want to check. This is where, sometimes there are many cases where without the knowledge of one of the spouse, the person go and checks the phone, which is very wrong. Why? Nobody has any right to check another person's phone. That has to be known by everybody, even siblings, parents, parents and children. There should not be a situation where we should encourage people to go and check into the spouse phone. But you can't help it because there's mistrust. A lot of suspicious things happening. Obviously, the spouse wants to check. You can't help it. Yeah? And this, again, it will lead to the marriage to be broken. Okay? You will not have a healthy married life. Okay? Another thing is sometimes we feel isolated. Okay? The spouse may feel isolated. For example, when they are going out, family outing. Yeah, either the wife, in many cases, the wife, yeah, the wife, she feels very isolated because why? The husband is so busy doing other things, he is neglecting to focus on the wife. The minute the wife feels that somehow or other, although initially it may not be obvious, But as this goes on, as this goes on, things may not fall in place. And that will be the beginning of the ignition to a disaster. Okay? Another thing which I can think of is boredom, boring. Both the spouse are working, both the husband and wife, or the man and the wife are working. They're very busy, you know, even at home they're very busy, but yet they are not uh, connected. Why? This is where I always blame the handphone. We are always busy, but we are never together. And this happens, and when this happens, both the parties will tend to do things on their own, neglecting each other. The husband will come back and say, I'm too busy today, but you will see him sitting in the hall and playing with his handphone. You know, this can also happen to the wife. Although I'm not saying that this happens everywhere, but there are many cases where okay, the boredom affects their relationship. They claim to be very, very busy. Yes, they are very busy, but actually they're busy in the wrong manner. Yeah, they have nothing else to do. They can't communicate properly. They can't have a good communication. So what do? They have to depend on the phone as their partner because it's very boring at home. It's boring in their workplace. So my only partner, my only friend is my handphone. Yeah. Another thing, another reason is incompatibility. Okay, the husband and the wife, they are not comparable. They cannot get along. Their needs are different. Their wants are different. Okay, and if this happens to a couple, they will never be able to be aligned. They will be going in their own direction. One will go north, one will go south. Yeah. Why? Is because they just cannot get along. Whatever my husband says, I can't understand, can't accept it. I have my own way of interpretation. Likewise, whatever I say, the husband may not sync with what we are talking. It's just, I would, if you ask me bluntly, I would say just like a dog and a cat, each wanting their own ways, but they're never able to move along the same direction. So there's a misalignment of their behaviors, of their needs, their wants, a lot of differences. So they are not aligned. This is another factor. Of course, obviously, I also would like to say that another cause is always financial problem. Okay, financial problem is also one of the cause. If the couple are heavily committed, okay, heavily committed, it loans here and loan there, house, loan on house, loans on car, so many other loans. So they find it very difficult to meet the deadline to pay their installments. So when this happens, again, they are not able to focus in their family life because they got so much of financial problem. If if the husband is the only breadwinner, okay, and if he has so much of financial problem, sometimes the husbands, of course, they go and work, they bring in the money. If the wife is not able to match, is not able to adjust the lifestyle according to the income that the husband is earning, or even if it's a package, both husband and wife are working. If they are earning is more, is lesser than their spending, it's very difficult to support the family. Again, this is another cause why people find it very difficult. Of course, I would not say that everybody who is involved in financial problem, they break up. Yeah, they break up. They might, no, I don't mean to say, but these are some of the causes which can lead. Yeah. Okay. Another thing is lack of intimacy. Yeah. As a husband and wife, intimacy must be very good. Okay. If we are not able to, yeah, if one party, if there's a suspicion, as I said earlier, if there's a suspicious behavior, at the end of the day, the person who is always being the victim will get fed up. Will get fed up. They would not want to find the love at home. They would not want to find what they want at home. They cannot get. So what they do is they go for alternate routes. Yeah. Why? Because they're not able to get along. They're not able to cope up. They're not able to resolve the problems. These are some of course, earlier I said mistrust. Yeah, mistrust is, of course, the biggest. In fact, whatever I say, at the end of the day, it also boils down to trust. The trust level must be very high between the man and the wife. If the trust level is not there, anything can happen. Okay? Anything can happen to break their marriage. Okay? They will not have a happy and peaceful married life. Okay? So, having explained all these things, yeah, before that, sometimes husbands, they are very unresponsive to the needs of the wife. Likewise, even sometimes the wives, they are very unresponsive to the needs of the husband. This again is another cause why marriages cannot sustain for long. Okay. Having said all this, I just now I've spoken to you what are the causes, some of the probability why marriages break. Okay. Now I would like to share with you what are the ways, what are the ways where we can avoid all these things. Okay. This is where respecting the spouse is really in any relationship. Respecting each other is very important. They must be respected equally. Okay, must be respected equally. Only then they'll be able to resolve whatever conflicts they are having. Okay, okay. No matter how long the two of you have been married, you are still individuals. You are still individuals with your own thoughts and feelings. After all, it takes two separate things to tie a knot, right? It takes two separate strings to tie the knot. You cannot tie a knot with just one string. Treat your spouse as your equal and do not make assumptions about how they feel about something. It's very important. Okay. Also, when I say about respect, we must be able to respect the spouse's privacy as well. Okay, they are still entitled to privacy. Each individual are entitled for their own privacy and it must be respected. Okay, with what? With trust. If you have total trust, you will never say no to privacy. You will agree for the spouse to have a privacy. Yeah, we must understand that. Yeah. Okay. Next is focus on the present and the future. Focus on the present and the future and not the past. Whatever has happened before we tie the knot, before we begin our life, past is past. Should never recall back, should never ignite the situation, bringing in the past memories. Okay? In life, or in any marriage, for that matter, when two individuals get married, they should only talk about the present and the future. Never look backwards because nobody is perfect. What has happened in the past is past. We should not use that as a weapon, okay, to pinpoint as and when we find an opportunity. Whenever there's an argument, we always point back to the past. Last time we did this. That is wrong. That is not the way how we can resolve conflicts. Okay? So, what I'm saying is in a marriage or in any unity or in any situation, the spouse should never talk about the past. Let the gone be by gone. Yeah. So we must always think forward. If we follow this, then a lot of things can be addressed. Yeah. And a lot of mishaps can be avoided. Okay? Because if we try to harp on the past, it will never help you in any way. It will make the situation worse. Okay? Parting of keeping your relationship in the present is learning to forgive your spouse. Again, yeah? Part of keeping your relationship in the present is learning to forgive your spouse. Learn what you can from mistakes and let it go. You must learn from the mistakes. Once you learn from the mistakes, then you know how to move forward. Okay. Always show forgiveness by not bringing up a problem again once it has been resolved. Meaning, if there is a problem, it has been resolved. Never use this as a weapon to remind the spouse in future. No? That is, it will hurt their feeling. Yeah? Because in life, we must understand nobody is perfect. The key is how are we going to accept each other and resolve every conflicts amicably so that the future is always green. Yeah. If we do not follow this, it is very unlikely you can have a smooth sailing. Okay? The third, listen to your spouse actively and pay attention to them. When the spouse comes and tells us something, we must listen with the intention to understand. Never listen with the intention to respond. Yeah. In many cases, we have seen, yeah, not only in the family life, even in the organizational level, in the office, assuming the staff approaches the boss, the superior, conveys to him his dissatisfaction, going with the complaint. Yeah. When he starts talking to the boss, I'm sure he will be able to ascertain the level of trust he is having on the boss. Yeah. He can know, is the boss genuinely listening to me or is he listening to me just to answer? How do you know that? Especially when, like say, now coming back to the man and wife issue, yeah? Marriage, on the marriage side. If the spouse has a problem, comes and tells to the partner, and if the partner is the type very busy, doing so many chores here and there, doing this, doing that. So when the spouse comes and tell something, although we are listening, but we are not listening. I'm sure the spouse will be able to know why. The way we listen, the way we look, eye gesture, body language. And while listening, I'm doing some other work. When the spouse approaches us and tells us something, if you're listening while you're doing some other work, do you think the spouse will have trust? Do you think the spouse will have confidence that you are listening to her with the intention to understand? She will think that you are listening with the intention to reply. Yeah. This I've seen many, many times, not only at home, even at the workplace. This is a phenomena that people should avoid. So when we listen, we must listen actively and pay attention and must listen with empathy, not with sympathy. When you feel sympathy, you only say, sorry. I feel sorry for you. So what? I want a solution. I just don't want pity from you. No, I want you to help me to discuss, come to a decision on how are we going to solve this. And you will only be able to solve if you understand me through not through your ears, but through your eyes and body. Okay? So when you listen to your spouse, never just listen. Listen with your ears, eyes, and heart. That is your body language. If you are trying to fake, the spouse will definitely come to know. Yeah? Even when we are listening to the spouse, and if the spouse makes such things, you will be able to gauge what kind of spouse is this. She is not sincere, or he is not sincere in listening. Okay? And when you ask questions that make the person feel that you are sincere. So this is actually a skill. Whenever we are listening to the spouse, when you are listening and asking question, we must ask the question in a manner that makes the person feel that I am really sincerely listening. That is why I'm posing these questions. I'm asking you these questions. So the manner which we are asking is also very important. This is actually a skill, yeah. You cannot just read through books. It is a skill you have to learn, you have to apply. Sooner or later, definitely it will go into your subconscious mind. The way you're talking, the way you are asking questions. Yeah. Another thing when we are actively listening and paying attention, never we must always avoid the impulse to try to fix every problem they bring up. If the spouse brings us any problem, there's no way for us to give a quick fix reply for every problem. It will never, because it is a process. The first is you must listen with the intention of understanding. That is the first stage. And then you must use your empathy listening. When I say empathy listening, you must not throw a pie. A is never advise at the beginning, at the start, without understanding the full story. Okay. P, never probe. Never probe. Okay. I, do not interpret. Okay. API, E, do not evaluate. Okay. So you must avoid all these things until you come to a level where you have earned sufficient trust. Once your spouse trusts in you, she knows you are sincere in wanting to help, okay, and you are really listening with the intention to understand the situation by listening through your ears, eyes, and body language. She will gain confidence. My spouse, finally, I see my spouse is paying attention with sincerity. Then, once you have earned the trust, then you can throw the pipe. Yeah, you can advise, you can probe, you can interpret, but never do this before understanding the whole situation. Okay. Sometimes what happens is when people come and tell you, when a spouse comes and tell you, they are not looking for solution. They do not want a solution. Why you want to give a solution? They are only sharing. They just want to pour out their frustration, okay, their concerns. They just want you to listen. So just listen. That is why you see many counselors, they do not talk much. What they do is they listen. That is a skill. So in an effective marriage, for a successful marriage, both the spouse must learn art of listening, the art of understanding, and the way you ask questions. Okay, all these things will happen once you have created the first stage of earning the trust. Okay? So when they're just sharing with you, they want you to understand. Just listen. Do not give your opinion. If this continues, then the spouse will have more confidence. Yeah, more confidence. And later, if any problem, we can always say, okay, once you have understood everything, then you can say, are you looking for solution or do you just need me to listen? Get the clarity. Get the clarity from the spouse. What you want? Do you want me to just listen or you want me to respond? Let the spouse come back to you. So this is a manner the spouse communicate. Okay. Another thing, make your spouse a priority in your life. Your spouse is always number one. The most important in your life is your spouse. Okay. Your spouse wants to feel as though they are more important than your job. How many of us can do that? I want my wife more than my job. You know, how many of us are into this? Okay. This does not mean that your life revolves around your wife, around your spouse. It just means that you think about them when making any decision. Because I always think of my wife, she is my priority. Okay. I always want to make sure whatever I say is for the benefit of both. The spouse also benefits, I also benefits. Yeah. Then you can see a total change. Okay. How your decision will affect your spouse is just as important as how it will affect you. Remember, yeah? For example, you might consult your spouse before accepting a new position. Okay, I got a new position. Before I accept the job, I discuss with my spouse. Okay, talk about how it will affect your responsibilities and the time commitment. Discuss. Have a series of talks. Share everything. Do not hide. Throw everything on the table. Share. Once you do this, your spouse will be very comfortable with you. She'll be able to give you inputs. Yeah. And if there's a conflict between you and your spouse, between your spouse and your family, talk it over with your spouse. So any family problems, always talk to your spouse. Okay. So that you can be united in our decision making. Yeah. But we always see many a times one spouse decides on on himself or herself without considering or without discussing properly with the spouse. Yeah? The wife may have different opinion, but I as husband, I got my own opinion, but I take my own decision without discussing. This also is a problematic issue. Yeah, so we have to avoid that. Another thing is maintain strong communication with your spouse. Be open and be honest. Okay, communication is very important in any partnership. But especially in a marriage, communication is the most important thing. That is why I say when you communicate, you must try to understand with the intention of, you must hear or you must listen with the intention to understand, not with the intention to respond. Okay. Check back with your spouse rather than, sorry, okay, rather than just letting things get stuck under the rug. Never hide anything. Discuss openly with your spouse. Okay, so communication is very important. And when you have disagreement, okay, when you have disagreement, stick to the topic at hand and avoid lashing out at your spouse personally. Never lash out at your spouse at a personal level. Okay, always stick to the topic and discuss it until both of you understand each other before you come to a decision. Okay. Next one is keep marital confidences, meaning whenever there's any disputes, whenever there's an issue between a husband and wife, always keep it within the four walls. Always keep it within the four walls. Never share it with a third party. Let it be your parents, let it be your father-in-law, mother-in-law, or brother, or siblings. Always stick within the four walls. If you can maintain this, a lot of conflicts can be overcome. But the problem we see is sometimes when I'm not able to get along with my wife, I go and pour out my feelings to my parents. Yeah, which is wrong. It is not a correct way of handling problems because by doing that you are actually exploding the matter. Never talk personal matters with a third party outside the four walls. Yeah, not even to family members, not even to friends. If this happens, then the trust level between both spouses will increase. Another thing I like to, this is my own personal assessment. Yeah, in fact, I have shared this with many youngsters, young couples, or even before getting married. They ask me for some advice. Yeah, they always tell me, "Oh, Mr. Nahan, you have so much of years. I respect you. Now you are able to have a lead. You are able to lead a comfortable life, a happy life. I want to know some of the secrets. How can marriages be secure? For me, I have this to share with you. I'm sure most of you would not have heard. Just listen and then you analyze. I always like to follow the principle of 60-40. What is 60 and what is 40? In any decision making or in any conflicts, yeah, the husband is always 60% right, the wife is 40% right. Don't take me wrong, yeah? Listen to me until I finish. Then you will have a better perception. Yeah. Otherwise, by just listening what I'm telling now, there will be a lot of negative connotation. Okay? Again, I'm repeating. In any conflicts, in any decision making, I always follow the principle of 60-40, where the husband has 60% power, the wife has 40% power. You cannot have 50-50. You will never come to any decision. Yeah? You will never. So my take is the husband is always 60%, the wife is 40%. This does not mean the husband is superior, yeah? Don't get me wrong. This does not mean the husband is superior. No, especially when it's an argument. Okay, let me talk a specific example. There's an argument. The wife knows the husband is wrong, but the husband is too emotion. Men being men, they want to be up there, right? So what should be? should the wife do? Give in. Apologize. No one apologizing. By apologizing, you are not degraded. Don't lower yourself. You are just cooling down the situation. Just say sorry, and you will see the tense ease off. It doesn't stop there, my friends. It doesn't stop there. Now, what I've said is only the role of the wife. Being a 40% voter, okay, she has agreed and apologized. And the case is smoothed. Then comes the responsibility of the husband. Although he is 60%, he should have the courage to ask himself, am I correct in what I say? I, as a man, I should be sincere to me. I should be sincere to my wife. If I am wrong, I must have the courage to go and apologize to my wife. I see, here it is not only the question of the wife alone, it is a team. It's a teamwork. How both of us can overcome issues. So once the husband realizes that he is at fault, he should not just keep quiet. Maybe he's very emotional. Doesn't matter 1 day, 2 day, doesn't matter. Once the situation cools down, okay, once the situation cools down, it is the onus of the husband to go and say sorry to the wife. What will happen? Definitely the whole problem will be resolved. So this is my secret in life, where I always follow the principle of 60-40. Yeah. But don't take it that husband is always right. Yeah. Initially, it doesn't matter. It is a pride of the wife to give in. But if the husband is sincere, he will go and apologize. So these are my few examples and my few tips how we can save our marriage for a for the rest of our life. Having said all this, sometimes some easy to say, but difficult to follow, right? Difficult to do it. Mind is not prepared. We are mentally not prepared. We need to relax ourselves. How can we relax? How can we overcome all this stress and all this? This is where laughter yoga comes in. Now, my partner Rajvin, she will share with you how the laughter yoga can help to ease the stress level of the spouse, both the spouse, so that they are in a better position to address all the issues in a very amicable and a happy manner. Okay, Rajvin, now back to you. So let's hear from Rajvin what she has to say on laughter yoga that applies for a happy and successful married life. Okay, Rajvin?
Thank you, Mr. Nahan. Before I begin, I would like to do two laughter exercise before I share my thoughts. My first laughter exercise is when you feel like arguing, when you feel like you have an argument with a spouse, why don't you do it with laughter? Ha 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 ha. You point your hand with point your hand, and instead of instead of going instead of going set into an argument, why don't we just laugh? That's where you must ha 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 ha. And you said, very good, yay. And after doing argumentative laughter, it will calm down the argument, and things will be much more wiser. And also, after a hard day of work, um, from after a hard day of work, your spouse is tired from personal experience. I look at my parents, and they're appreciative for each other. How do you do appreciative laughter? Put your hands, put your thumbs up, and say ha 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 ha. Good job, good job, good job. Very good, very good. Yeah. So that was a short laughter yoga session for you guys. Now, how to from my experience as a laughter yoga teacher, I have seen a lot of friends who are married, and how do they keep their successful marriage. A tip for successful marriages, Nahan mentioned, you must be an effective listener, and you must listen to what the spouse says, and you must be honest, and you must be to what accepting for your accepting towards your mistakes, and you must be tolerant. Now, why marriages fail today is people are not modern generation is not tolerant with each other. So therefore, I salute my parents for being 50 years marriage, and my friends also, many of them are successfully married, have successfully happily married because of this keyword tolerant, and also forgiveness. When one spouse does a mistake, the other one must must be the calm one. So and also how does actually um how does actually before I end, I said I would like to mention how does laughter yoga connect to a successful marriage. um laughter Laughter can ease a stressful situation. Laughter can ease stress in a marriage. Laughter can be um, laughter can make a situation better. Laughter can improve the relationship between husband and wife, and laughter can be a good good therapy for for the couple to ponder about, because a day without laughter is a day wasted. So before I end this uh, talk, I would like to do um, some meditation to to ease to ease to help people to be successful in marriage. So close your eyes. Try to think of nothing. Be still, be calm, and say, to my happy marriage, I feel blessed, I feel joyful, and I feel calm. I want to make it better, peaceful, and happy. With laughter and joyfulness, I promise to make my marriage work. Place your palms under your forehead. Rub your palms. Place your palms under your Ha 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 ha. Yay! Very good, very good. Yay. And I must say, this is my first time doing this on successful marriage, but I actually follow what I've actually been very observant to my parents' wisdom. And thank you, Mr. Nahan, for choosing this topic. This topic is really relevant to the modern generation. Thank you. Thank you, Shavana. Harmeet, Harmeet, Geeta, anybody has any questions, please?
Good evening. Well, that was a lovely topic and perspective. I'll leave your floor open and let Geeta ji come in and probably.
I couldn't get what you were trying to say, sir.
Uh, no, I was just saying hello to Rajvin. In fact, that I'm on the forum after a very long time. It was good hearing her out. And interesting topic. And I generally have a take. It might be a different take in terms of not on the lines what you said, but just the perspective I'm giving and sharing. Uh, that the institution of marriage is started collapsing within the bounds of its own expectations over the last 4 or 5 decades. And the primary reason for that is, and that's my take on it, is it started in the western part of the culture and now it's moved into the Asian part, India and other places. Predominantly post the feminist movement where it was encouraged for women to walk out of the house and partake in the commercial success of capitalism, right? And when I say that, doesn't mean that I'm saying that the role of women is back at the house. Sure, they're as capable to go out, but then what happens is house is where the CEO of the house is the woman. The the breadwinner was the man, and the challenges that kind of impact the power structure in a corporate world, even till date, are better managed by men than women. And why I'm saying that is, uh, from a spiritual perspective, over the last couple of, I would say, 100 of years, men were more spiritually inward bound, and women are more materialistically driven. Now, with the advent of the fact that they got wings to go out and earn money, materialism over the last 50 years became the bane of society. And men, rather than going inward and going into a spiritual inward journey, over the last 30 years have predominantly taken the feminist perspective in society, which is to chase monetary or chase money and chase materialism. Now, you cannot have a system in marriage where the woman is driving the material part, the man is following the lead, because that's where the expectations are bound to go north and south. And you're always running for money, you're always looking at material growth. Uh, whether it's a better lifestyle, whether it's a better holiday, better materialism today is being run by women. And when I say all this, I'm saying it from a realistic perspective, not in terms of saying women are wrong or men are wrong. It's just that the pressure to perform both for men and women is more materialistic. Now, when you make materialism as the center of your relationship, or it's not a center of the relationship, it's the center of the the society today. And marriage is a part of society. By default, marriage becomes uh, the 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 perspective of what's happening is marriage is a reflection of society, right? Hence, the chances of today for marriages to break down, the probability has gone very high because the core that kind of keeps it together is materialism in different forms of it. Any kind of uh, devaluation in the material outlook is going to put pressures on the marriage, because the marriage is not about anymore that, uh, you know what, come may what, fair weather, bad weather, we're going to stick it out and we're going to find a solution. I'll make the money and you manage the money. You manage the house. So, that partnership is not going to work because both are going in the same direction. So the
Exactly.
partnership is when one handles one part of the fort, the other person handles the other part of the fort. Now,
Yes.
if both the man and the woman are out there in the corporate world, or both are looking at the same unidirection, there is internal competition within the spouse, and you will sell. And the fact is, with the material growth coming in, children are orphaned today. Even though, when I'm using a very strong word, even though the parents are alive, the children are orphaned because they're more into gadgets, they're more into money. The value system is collapsing because the parents don't have time. The parents are thinking about the next vacation. The parents are not thinking about the future of the child. They think
Yes.
taking the kid to Maldives and Mauritius is the best thing they could do, give to the child. So the value system is collapsing. And why I mention all that is within the paradigm of what I'm saying, the chances of to sit down and have a heart-to-heart talk about anything on a common ground doesn't exist because you're living in a make-believe world and a make-believe relationship. It's a fantasy world, and
Yeah.
real-time solutions cannot apply to fantasy world.
Of course.
That's my two bit. Thank you.
Good. Very well said,
Thank
sir.
very
Very
well
well
said.
said. Very well said.
Thank
I
you.
really appreciate. I really salute for your wisdom. Yeah, I'm sure you're a very what do you call experienced gentleman. Yeah. So whatever you have said, I have no right to say no.
No, no,
Definitely,
you, you
whatever you
you you
say,
have all the right to say no and all the right to say yes. My perspective is not from a yes or a no. My perspective was to put the cat among the pigeons and say, listen, you know what?
yeah,
It's worth a thought. I'm not saying I'm right.
yes,
I'm not. Neither am I saying I'm wrong. It's just a thought
yes.
process. Um, and I'll just take one more second. Geeta ji should just bear with me. Last week when I was just out of a little easy, I thought I'll probably deliberate and debate with ChatGPT, the pro version.
Mhm.
And I wrote a question on ChatGPT saying, I find men more spiritual than women. So ChatGPT threw back at me, it seems a little unfair for you to say that. And for the next 1 hour, there was ongoing discussion with AI, and I was pretty taken aback that AI could actually respond in real time to me with a perspective because it was scanning the internet with all the thought process and throwing back at me. And after about 1.5 hours, ChatGPT said, "You've proven your point very well that men are more spiritual than women. Women are more religious. They're more duty bound in religion, but men are more inward bound. But with the collapse of modern society, of the society into the modern paradigm, men have stopped going inward. So when one part of the gender stops going inward, spiritual growth in society stops. And religious fervor, or the part where you make religion more symbolic of spirituality, takes away the core value out of society."
I really admire what you've said. Yeah, I think
Thank
uh,
you.
as as what we have discussed, I think it's all a question of how we perceive it. Yeah, each one of us have our own way of our own perceptions. Nobody's right or wrong, as rightfully you have said. Yeah, most important is we need to ask ourselves: is that what I want for the future? For me to have a peaceful married life? The answer should come from within. Then you will see the power. But if the answer comes outside, from outside in, I may not want to accept it because, as you said, we all have our own way of thinking. Yeah. So the key what I'm trying to say is, at the end of the day, we need to ask ourselves: is this what we want? Is this what I'm looking for? You. each individual must know their own vision, what is it they want. So whatever I and you have said, if the person feels this is what I should do, then do it. And then at the end of the day, you will see things resulting differently. Yeah. So that is my sharing. So anyway, thank you very much, sir. I really appreciate what you have said. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you, Harmeet, for your kind wisdom.
Always
Okay.
a pleasure, Rajvin, and always a pleasure listening to you. Though I've come after a very long time and I'm missing Nupur ma'am and I don't see Meenuji and I don't see Shabana. I don't know whether they've taken a rest day off. But Geeta ji, I'm seeing you for the first time, so hello to you.
Hi, hi.
So, Geeta, do you have anything to say about today's session?
So it was wonderful session, respecting the time that we have already extended the session. So thank you so much, Nahan. Thank you, Rajveen, and thank you, Harmeet, for sharing your views. And looking
Pleasure.
forward to have amazing sessions in upcoming weeks. And this topic is like, if we'll start sharing, then it is unending. So I would
Absolutely.
like to close it, and so only I just want to sum up the points which Nahan sir has given to us, that respecting each other's privacy and personal space, don't bring past in the conversation, and we should learn to forgive each other, learn from our mistakes and let it go. Now, paying attention to each other, listen with empathy, not sympathy. And thank you, Nahan sir. And I have also taken on one or two points which will help me in my personal life, in my married life. So, thank you so much, all the viewers. And we'll close the session. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much and good night. Have a nice